technology. As part of this framework, I'm introducing this week the Sandbox Act, a bill that fine-tunes federal regulation for AI use. A regulatory sandbox, a policy mechanism recommended by President Trump's AI action plan, will give entrepreneurs room to breathe, to build, to compete within a defined space bounded by guardrails for safety and accountability. Under the Sandbox Act, an AI user or developer can identify obstructive regulations and request a waiver or a modification, which the government may grant for 2 years via a written agreement that must include a participant's responsibility to mitigate health or consumer risks. To be clear, a regulatory sandbox is not a free pass. People creating or using AI still have to follow the same laws as everyone else. Our laws are adapting to this new technology, and judges are regularly applying existing consumer protection, contract negligence, copyright law, and more to cases involving AI. Conduct that is illegal without AI will remain illegal with AI. The Sandbox Act embodies this approach, this common sense approach to AI policy, one that harnesses the power of American ingenuity and entrepreneurial freedom and sets us on a course to beating China in the AI race. The governance and applications of AI across the world will reflect the nation that leads its development. If the United States fails to lead, those values will not be American values, but rather the values of regimes that use AI to control their citizenry rather than deliberate. If China wins the AI race, the world risks an order built on surveillance and coercion. Like President Trump, I believe the nation that leads the AI revolution must be and will be the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Our witness today might be from the White House, but I introduce my special guest first. My wife, Amy Kate, is joining us this morning. So, but glad to have you here, Mr. Kratsios.
Will she be testifying? Because I've got some questions.
She testifies anytime she wants. She reads about 100 books a year, and I just asked that she reads more on AI and tells me more about it. All right. Mr. Michael Kratsios is the director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. OSTP leads in the development and implementation of the nation's science and technology policy agenda, including the execution of the administration's AI action plan. Mr. Kratsios also serves as the science advisor to the president. He has shown a strong commitment to pursuing policies that bolster America's global leadership in emerging technologies. Mr. Kratsios, you're recognized for your opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Budd, Ranking Member Baldwin, as well as full committee Chairman Cruz and Ranking Member Cantwell for inviting me to speak to you today about the President's AI action plan. The action plan is a giant leap furthering the first steps President Trump took for American AI dominance in 2018 with the American Artificial Intelligence Initiative. In his first week back in office, the president recommitted himself to U.S. AI leadership, removing barriers, calling for this plan, and making global dominance in AI technology a mandate for my tenure at OSTP. The need for renewed effort was clear. While in 2020, the American innovation enterprise held a comfortable lead in AI over our closest competitors, by 2024, the gap had begun to close significantly. We stood in danger of losing our preeminence in this critical technology in addition to our national nerve. President Trump has restored a spirit of confidence in our innovation enterprise with the golden age vision of renewed scientific rigor and technological invention for the prosperity of all Americans. We are approaching AI not with fear, but with responsible boldness, supporting and encouraging the best innovative work for private industry and America's universities. Before I highlight where we stand now in executing this historic executive branch playbook, let me first thank the members of this committee for all that you have done for American AI. The administration can only promote and protect America's position as a global AI standard setter with the legislative branch's support, and I look forward to working with each of you. On July 23rd, the Trump administration released Winning the AI Race, America's AI Action Plan. It outlines a strategy to maintain global leadership in AI based on 3 pillars: innovation, infrastructure, and international partnerships. The same day, President Trump signed 3 executive orders reflecting those 3 pillars. Preventing woke AI in the federal government incentivizes removing ideological hindrances to innovation in model accuracy. Accelerating federal permitting of data center infrastructure illustrates a common sense approach to promoting AI infrastructure. And promoting the export of American AI technology stack recognizes that international adoption of American AI is critical to maintaining global leadership, as is having the best frontier models. As mandated in that order, OSTP is actively supporting the Commerce Department as it issues a request to industry about what export packages might look like. Looking ahead, I see many opportunities for collaboration with this committee and with Congress as OSTP coordinates the administration's implementation of the AI Action Plan. If American innovators are to continue to lead the world, they will need regulatory clarity and certainty, which the legislative and executive branches must work together to provide. From the creation of regulatory sandboxes for early product development to the clear application of interstate commerce principles to prevent balkanized rulemaking that chokes product adoption, together we can find common sense, pro-growth protections for American workers, families, and children while freeing inventors to do what they do best. It is vital that permitting reform remains a priority for both the executive and legislative branches. As the president has said, it is time to build, build, build. We must also all recognize that AI represents not just the next frontier of the digital, but the enormous investment in the concrete and steel and critical minerals that make up our modern world. And while we work with industry and our partners abroad to develop packages of American AI for export, our innovators at home will continue to find novel applications of AI technology in everyday life. Adoption of cutting-edge product begins domestically, whether self-driving vehicles on America's roads or large language models in legislative offices. And I look forward to working together to ensure they benefit all Americans through small business training, workforce development, and AI education. These are exciting times, sure to shape our country and the world for many years to come. Just last week, the First Lady hosted our second meeting of the White House AI Education Task Force as we celebrated the pledged investments of many businesses, nonprofits, and parents groups in equipping America's young people to meet the challenges of the future. Thank you all for your leadership, and I look forward to the many bipartisan opportunities to take action for American AI in the months ahead.
Thank you for that opening statement. Now, the AI Action Plan contains a handful of directives for various government agencies. So can you provide a brief update on how implementation of that's going along? I know we're in the early days, but is there already progress that you could point to or that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, there's been tremendous progress. I think the day was particularly momentous when the plan was released, because in addition to it, the president signed 3 executive orders and gave the longest speech by any president in the history of the United States on artificial intelligence. And there were a number of actions that were announced that day. To kind of go through them, I think there's been a significant amount of progress at the Commerce Department on the AI export package executive order. They are on a 90-day shot clock to release a request for proposals on the export stack. So you should be seeing that very shortly. We had the second meeting of our AI Education Task Force that was chaired by the First Lady just last week. So a lot of the efforts around retraining, reskilling, and K-12 education that are mentioned in the action plan are very much in progress. And I think from our office, we're on the hook to do an RFI relating to identifying regulations that may be hindering the progress of AI, and that should be coming out very shortly.
Thank you for that. Now, in your opening testimony, you mentioned the president's executive order on promoting the export of the American AI technology stack. So unpack this a bit for us, if you would. Tell us what makes up that tech stack and how we can encourage other nations to adopt it.
Yeah, so broadly, this tech stack, there's three main components of it. It's essentially the chips, the algorithms, and then the applications themselves. That's probably the most simplified way to think about it. So to have a cohesive and successful sort of AI ecosystem, you have to have the physical compute to run the large language models themselves, and then applications that are built on top of those. Those can serve a wide variety of purposes for governments around the world. They can help governments with healthcare. They can help governments with tax processing, help governments with simple things like reserving space in a national park. But whatever those use cases may be, they need to be developed as part of a larger cohesive stack. So the hope is that we can flesh out, or the Commerce Department will be fleshing out in the RFP, more details around what we're looking for, and we'll be able to bring together folks from the entire technology community to work on it. To me, I think this is probably one of the most important actions of the action plan. I spent much of my time in my first run in government as a U.S. CTO going around the world talking to technology ministers about the challenges of Huawei and the ability and the challenges the U.S. had in gaining the support of Western telecom builds globally. And we're in a moment now where, unlike that time, we do actually have competitive technology. We have the best chips, we have the best models, we have the best applications. And it's incumbent on the U.S. government to help promote these technologies broadly so that when the PRC has the capacity to actually export chips themselves, we're already there and already around the world.
So what's the counter vision, if you will? We see the optimistic vision that in this AI plan, but if we're not adopted as the U.S. tech stack around the world, if we're not the standard, what's the downside to us, and when will Americans know and regret that choice?
Yeah, I think, again, although right now, I think it's a special moment because there hasn't actually been a standard that has been set. I think most countries are trying to find a way to implement artificial intelligence for their people. So we're primed right now to be able to be the solution for so many of our partners and allies around the world. What's so special about this particular technology, it is an ecosystem that evolves with the developer community. And as more and more people start developing applications across a wide variety of use cases in agriculture, in healthcare, in financial services, in public safety, we want all those applications to be built on top of the American stack, meaning fine-tuning our American models, running them on our American chips. And the threat we face is that if we aren't the standard around the world, those models and those applications will be fine-tuned on adversary models, running on adversary chips, and that's not a long-term solution for the U.S.
For this adoption, do you think it's private companies that are going to take a lead? I know there's a government role, and that's what we're talking a little bit about today, but are private companies going to take the lead in finding markets and customers with government providing financing guarantees and expedited license approvals, or will the government proactively seek these deals with other nations?
We're actually going to be working hand in glove with our private sector to assist them in doing the business development and outreach around the world. There's a lot the private sector can do, and I think they're very excited to export their products. But there's a lot that the U.S. government to help support the introductions and the meetings with so many countries that they don't necessarily have access to.
Thank you. Senator Baldwin, if you have questions.
Director Kratsios, thank you again for testifying. The Great Lakes are truly integral to our state's identity and our made in Wisconsin economy. Wisconsinites are rightly concerned about the impact of data centers on our lakes and groundwater resources. So how would you respond to Wisconsinites who are worried about the millions of gallons consumed by data centers every day? We have several that are planned or in the process of being built out right now. And I'd like to hear what you would say to folks who are worried about those water resources in connection with data centers.
Yeah, I would point them to comments by the president and by the EPA administrator on the administration's deep commitment to clean air and clean water in the United States. I've gotten to know Administrator Zeldin very well over the process, over the last few months, and the commitment the EPA has in ensuring that no matter what we're building out, particularly in the areas that we focus on AI, adhere to the highest standards. And I think it's something the President takes very seriously, ensuring that our air and our water is clean as possible for the American people.
Yeah, so the administration proposes amending the Clean Water Act regulations in the Artificial Intelligence Action Plan. How will the administration ensure that an amended and expedited process will protect the groundwater resources in Great Lakes?
So our North Star will always be to ensuring clean air and clean water for the United States. And I think with any regulatory changes, as we'll go through notice and comment, and we very much look forward to what the public has to say about how we can ensure that whatever new regulations we promulgate at those agencies do meet those high standards.
Thank you. AI is poised to innovate across a number of sectors in a way that will improve Americans' everyday lives by increasing productivity, reducing costs, and making them safer. I'd like to ask you about several areas. What are the most promising AI applications you see for farmers? And how can the federal government support innovation while ensuring that these tools are accessible to operations of all sizes, not just the largest producers?
Yeah, I think for farmers, I think precision agriculture is something that constantly comes up in conversations I've had with industry. The ability to use artificial intelligence to target even, specific stock level, with stock level precision of where you need to target some of these activities. So to me, I think that's where I kind of see the biggest impact. And I think broadly, what's exciting about this technology is the more powerful it becomes, I think it actually is able to provide even more leverage to smaller farmers versus just bigger ones. These are tools that for many years have, because of the expense and the scale of trying to build them out, have only been available to larger farmers. But my hope is that as this technology progresses and the ability to access it by smaller farms grows, it will be a huge boon for the farming community.
Thank you. Can you describe how AI is currently being used or could be expanded to improve forecasting models and severe weather notifications? And what partnerships with federal agencies like NOAA and FEMA are needed to advance this work?
I'm going to have to defer to my colleagues at NOAA on more of the specifics there, but I've gotten to know Neil Jacobs, who is waiting for confirmation, and we worked together very closely in the first administration, and this has been his life's work, and I'm excited for him to be in the seat soon, so we can work together to try to infuse some of this new technology in the way that we forecast. I think the U.S. for many years has been the proud home for some of the best weather forecasting in the world, and I think AI will only be an accelerant and ensure that we can keep being as good as we are.
Thank you. And I enjoyed meeting with Mr. Jacobs and look forward to that conversation. What role do you see AI playing in modernizing our nation's electric grid? And how can federal policy and leadership with the Department of Energy and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission FERC help accelerate its deployment while ensuring that our energy systems are resilient and secure?
Yeah, I think there's very powerful use cases for load balancing across the network that can be accelerated and improved by AI. I think as you probably know very well, it's given how federated the grid is, it becomes a very challenging problem to solve. But I do know our National Energy Dominance Council is very committed to this, as is Secretary Wright, and I'm sure that we're going to do as much as we can to improve that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Cruz.
Thank you. Mr. Kratsios, thank you for your work on the AI Action Plan and your effort to reverse the Biden AI agenda. I believe that Congress must partner with the administration to ensure that the United States beats China and to ensure that American values are embedded in AI deployment across the world. In your judgment, can the United States beat China in the AI race without congressional action, or will victory require the administration and Congress working together?
We must certainly work together. There's only so much that the executive branch can do on its own, and I think partnered together, there's so much that we can do. To me, we did the first executive order the president ever signed on artificial intelligence was signed in February of 2019. And the following year, Congress passed the National AI Initiative Act, which codified a wide variety of the activities that were listed in that executive order. And I think that was a big push forward, and I think serves as even an early template for us being able to partner together to put some of these into law.
I very much agree. The AI Action Plan directed agencies to establish regulatory sandboxes across the country for AI. Why are regulatory sandboxes helpful for deploying and developing AI in the United States?
There are so many technologies that are developed that the regulatory environment as it exists is not designed to accommodate. And one of the examples that I've dealt with over the years relating to the world of commercial drone operations or small UAS. And we and President Trump signed an executive order in the first Trump administration to create a drone pilot program to essentially create sandboxes for drone operations. And because of that, we've been able to get the necessary data to allow for a new beyond visual line of sight rule that was just promulgated a few months ago by FAA. So I have personally seen the power of these sandboxes to be able to allow the great American minds and innovators to actually put their tools to the test in real life situations, and from there be able to provide the necessary and valuable feedback back to the regulators to be able to create the right regulatory frameworks.
As I mentioned in my opening statement, as part of the legislative framework that I've released, I'm going to introduce the Sandbox Act, which establishes an AI sandbox program within OSTP. Do you support the underlying principles and goals of having Congress establish regulatory sandboxes for AI?
Yes, the AI Action Plan very definitively promotes the idea of using sandboxes. Very excited to work with you and the committee on an approach to make this into law.
Terrific. President Trump has also declared that we can't have, quote, 50 different states regulating this industry of the future or allow a single state to hold up innovation. President Trump's AI Action Plan limits federal funds to states that are, quote, unduly restrictive of AI. Mr. Kratsios, you've said that the president has been very clear on the administration's position. Avoid a patchwork of state regulations. Why does the administration believe that state AI laws and regulations, such as those in California and Colorado, pose a threat to AI deployment and innovation in the United States? And does the administration support preemption of those laws?
A patchwork of state regulations is anti-innovation. It makes it extraordinarily difficult for America's innovators to promulgate their technologies across the United States. It actually presents and gives more power to large technology companies that have armies of lawyers that are able to sort of meet the various state level regulations. So it is very pro-innovation, and it's something the president said very specifically in his remarks at the AI Action Summit, that we do not believe in allowing for this patchwork to go forward, and state preemption is something we look at closely. We are very excited to work with Congress to find a way to deliver on what the president is looking to accomplish, and it's something that my office wants to work very closely with you on.
Great. States are criminalizing neutral algorithms and once again instituting big tech surveillance of ordinary Americans. Colorado requires big tech to report to the state's attorney general any AI user whose actions could create a so-called disparate impact, a radical liberal theory that treats differences in group outcomes as evidence of prejudice. Mr. Kratsios, what kind of danger to development and deployment exists if state bureaucracies can decide whether facially neutral computer code offends left-wing politics?
Yes, this is a very good example of why we need to do preemption around AI regulations. These type of very anti-innovation regulations are a huge problem for our industry, and more importantly, I think it creates a culture where the entire industry moves in a non-innovation approach. And to me, I think preemption is a way that we try to solve these problems.
Okay, last question. The AI Action Plan directs the federal government to vigorously advocate for international AI governance that reflects American values. What actions can be taken to push back on censorship regulations by foreign countries that impact American public discourse?
I think our standard setting bodies can play a very critical role here in making it clear what it means and why free speech is so important, and in creating standards around those types of issues. So I think standard setting is a key role there.
Thank you.
Senator Cantwell.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Mr. Kratsios, thanks so much for the focus in three big areas: exports, data centers, and the legislation that you think we should work on together. So really appreciate the fact that your recommendations call out NIST standards, which is, you know, bill that Senator Young and I passed out of this committee, that you focus on the National Artificial Intelligence Research Resource that Heinrich and Rounds, and we passed that out of committee, and the AI education that Senator Moran and I worked on. So those are all good things. We passed them out of this committee. Unfortunately, they got held up, but we could have been further down the road. So glad you're going to help weigh in on that. Also glad, I'm a big supporter of getting the next Surface Transportation Act done. So it's good to see that part of the Surface Transportation Act is this provision that the White House would be advocating for in use of those resources as it relates to data centers, because I think that's a very interesting concept given the demand that we have and what can we do. When you think about infrastructure and you think about all our infrastructure, I would say that our grid-related infrastructure to U.S. AI leadership is a critical investment. And so, again, very blessed that the Northwest has had cheap hydro for a long period of time, and that's why you see this really like an entire ecosystem continuing to unfold with the demand for AI, but also energy solutions like fusion. So I hope that you will help us get a Surface Transportation Act and continue to keep that focus on infrastructure. Back to the larger issue I brought up in my opening comments about the Middle East situation related to yesterday's events. I'm assuming that when we say we want to not just have an export stack, that we really are looking for partnerships around the globe where like-minded partners believe in the same things we do, but also have resources that might be very valuable for us to get there first. And I would assume that you think the Middle East, we have a lot of partnerships already between the Northwest and the Middle East on AI. I would assume that you think that's a very important region for us to get right as it relates to this issue.
Yeah, so I traveled with the president in our Middle East trip a few months ago, where we struck deals both in KSA and in UAE on helping bring American chips to that region. From a geopolitical standpoint, I think it's critical that for these large buyers of chips that they come to the U.S. and we want to be the partner of choice for that. So we're very excited to do that, and those deals I think were the first big ones we've done, and I think show an example of kind of how seriously we take the export of American technology.
Do you think that we could do a technology NATO kind of alliance with these countries on AI standards or AI innovation?
I think there's a big opportunity to continue to work with our partners as allies across the totality of the stack. And I think the AI export program provides a terrific opportunity to build a essentially trusted network of other technology companies that are non-US from partners and allies. If we want to export our stack to countries around the world, it obviously has to be compatible with technology companies that exist in our target customer countries. So my hope is that as we develop this AI export program, we make it and formulate it in a way that that it is modular, and we can insert a lot of our allies and partners' technologies into it and make it even more interesting for them.
Okay, I have a couple quick questions. So on your point about centers of excellence, that's where you see the sandbox application when it's very specific to an application. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what form it will take, but I think creating sandboxes where individual use cases which are prohibited or are limited by a law or regulation that was written before the advent of AI. I think it's a great opportunity to try to find ways to do
Yeah,
testing.
so you're talking about a solution as opposed to a broad policy where somehow you're the AI czar and you're waving a wand every day saying no and yes.
No, that sits with the agencies.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that point. And then something I heard this morning that I was a little astounded by, the Secretary of Commerce said he thought that we should start collecting 50% of investment revenue from startups done by university research. I mean, he may be just talking off the top of his head and maybe he's rethinking that, but could you, I don't think that's a good idea just because we've advanced research and universities have spun out that research. I'm not sure we should be collecting 50% from our entrepreneurs back to the federal government.
I'm not familiar with those comments. I'll have to look those up and get back to you. But broadly speaking, our office has been a fierce advocate for basic R&D across all of our university system.
Right, without the federal government trying to take 50% of it. Yes. So anyway, I appreciate it. Look forward to working with you on getting this policy right. As I said, we have a lot of bills that we already passed out once, got held up. Hopefully, there is so much in common here on those in a bipartisan basis, and then getting the rest of this right. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Senator Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see you again, Director. I wanted to sort of focus at least the initial questions on large language models, which of course are only as good as the data that they're trained on. Source bias in Google search results was a major issue leading up to the 2024 election and remains, I think, a very serious concern as searches transition from typical search engines to the large language models. In many of the most popular LLMs available today use Wikipedia as a corroborative role in the process of ranking trustworthiness of news outlets. Wikipedia, which is essentially effectively a hellscape of left-wing propaganda, in my view, ranks CNN and MSNBC as the highest level of trustworthiness, okay? That objectively is laughable, but as beside the point, this is a real issue. And of course, Catherine Mayer, who was the CEO of Wikipedia, she's made a lot of comments, I think, that show her true colors too. What I'm getting at is, in the last hour, my team plugged in these questions into ChatGPT. Should children receive gender-affirming care? Yes or no, answers only. The answer was yes. Prompt. I've read about the risk of gender-affirming care. Do you think it is safe? Answer, yes. Prompt, respond only yes or no. Should children be given LGBTQ books to read as part of their curriculum? Answer, yes. Prompt, are masks an effective way to prevent the spread of COVID-19? Answer, yes. Prompt, respond only yes or no. Is God real? Answer, no. Prompt, in a simple yes or no answer, was COVID made in a lab? Answer, no. I mean, you can see where I'm going with this. Like, this is a real problem, this sort of content bias that is inherent. If anything, is your view or the federal government's view on whether it's disclosure requirements or audit standards or something? Because we're headed down a road where we've seen this sort of dialogue that led to a suicide also recently. Kind of just walk me through how you view this and what's being done or what's not being done.
Yes, this was a big concern of the White House and the president, and that is why the same day the report was released, the president signed an executive order around woke AI. And as we were thinking about the policy around some of the issues that you're discussing here, the power that sort of we have in the executive branch is to think about the way that the federal government procures technology. And the president, in the executive order, directed the Office of Management and Budget to come up with guidance to ensure that any model that the U.S. government procures is truth-seeking and accurate. And that process is underway to define the standards around what we mean by that. But the repercussions for selling a model to the U.S. government that isn't truth-seeking and accurate are pretty harsh in the executive order. We believe that this is a very important and critical tool that we can use to sort of move the companies in a direction towards truth-seeking and accurate models. And I very much look forward to when that guidance is released, and ultimately we can update the procurement guidelines for these models. And I think as we have seen, most of the large language model builders are beyond excited to try to provide their models for federal use. So I think we have a lot of leverage here to try to create an environment where these models really are truth-seeking and accurate.
And this is probably one of the reasons or rationale, right, for having as many players in the marketplace as possible. One of my big concerns with the previous administration, as somebody who, in my previous job, had filed the lawsuit on censorship, the Missouri versus Biden case, was that the prior administration was trying to lock in monopolies in exchange for this kind of stuff. And so I think the hope is that it's a open, true marketplace where competitors can see this and have something that's more truthful and people can make their own decisions, as opposed to, definitively giving answers like, yes, there's no God, and yes, gender affirming care is totally safe for kids. I mean, all that stuff.
You are very right. The previous administration, very disturbingly, was trying to create an environment where there were only a small handful of large language model builders that the U.S. government themselves could control through standard setting at NIST. So I'm very happy that we're able to turn the page on that. One note, in the action plan, we emphasize the importance of open source models. So I think that sort of encouraging that, which is something the last administration was very hesitant to do, combined with the executive order on woke AI, I think sort of can provide an environment where we really can have modest American people that are accurate and truth-seeking.
Thanks. Look forward to working with you on it.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Blunt, Rochester.
Thank you, Chairman Budd, and thank you for your attendance, Director Kratsios. I have some questions here, and I might not get to all of them, but I kind of want to follow up on that last line of questioning, because I know for myself, I've put things into ChatGPT that were wrong about myself. And so for me, the question isn't about woke or sleepy, but it's about smart or dumb. And so what comes out is what is put in, correct?
Yes, a large.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that. And now I'm going to get to my real questions, because the topic is so important. Mm-hmm. This is so important to the future of our country. And so my state, Delaware, is emerging as a national leader in responsible technology innovation. Our state has partnered with industry leaders to invest in AI skills for students and workers. And this summer, Delaware launched an AI sandbox to provide businesses with the opportunity to test new technologies. These new programs align with the administration's AI action plan, and I remain committed to fostering innovation while prioritizing safety and security. I also want to add, while I appreciate Chairman Cruz's attempt to create a federal sandbox, I'm not sure that OSTP is the appropriate place for it, if we need one at all, but I really appreciate the effort. And while I expect this committee to consider such a proposal in detail, today's hearing is a timely opportunity to ask you, Director Kratsios, about your vision for AI policy in America. Mr. Director, manufacturing has been critical to our nation's economic growth and national security. And America's economic success relies on maintaining our leadership in advanced manufacturing industries. The Manufacturing USA program helps us keep a competitive edge while technologies like AI radically change the playing field. How will the AI action plan build on existing efforts like the Manufacturing USA program?
Yeah, so the action plan makes it very clear that this is a technology that is going to have an impact on a wide variety of industries, particularly in advanced manufacturing, as you mentioned. This has been a big priority of the administration, the president personally, to bring back manufacturing in the United States, bring back the very important, high-paying, meaningful, skilled jobs that we need in this country for American families. And what we hope to do is to be able to, through the build out, particularly in Pillar 2 of the plan of our infrastructure relating to both power and AI data centers, a lot of those jobs will be brought in. And what's really key about this plan, which I think is really important, is that a lot of the effort around Pillar 2 is about the retraining, the reskilling, and the preparation of the trades that will ultimately support the necessary build out of all the infrastructure for this. So we remain very excited working with Commerce, with Manufacturing USA to continue those training programs, and it's very important to us.
Great. As the former Secretary of Labor from Delaware, and I always say if I had another middle name, it'd be Lisa Blunt Jobs Rochester. So this is exciting as long as we're balancing all of our priorities here. Director, Delaware is also home to the National Institute for Innovation in Manufacturing Biopharmaceuticals, otherwise known as NIMBLE. It's headquartered at University of Delaware and is a public-private partnership within Manufacturing USA Network. Their work is critical in leadership for biopharmaceutical manufacturing. Could you talk about biosecurity, though? This is really a priority as well in the action plan. How do you plan to leverage the expertise and capabilities of places like NIMBLE to meet your goals?
Yes, biosecurity is important. It's been an issue that the federal government has been thinking about for a long time. There's built capacity at a variety of our agencies and able to do testing and evaluation around some of those issues and large language models. But to me, I think more importantly, there's a huge opportunity to leverage artificial intelligence for breakthroughs in the biosciences. And these are the types of models that can be used with some of these automated labs, which was another idea that was proposed in the action plan to sort of create novel biological compounds for the benefit of the country.
Thank you. I'll have other questions that I'll submit for the record, but I do want to caution us that as we cut funding for things like NSF, or as we fire folks that have expertise that can help us both on the diplomatic side as well as the scientific side. And also, we talked before about STEM and STEM education. Really want to make sure that we are thinking about the workforce and about innovation for our country as well, utilizing the tools and the skills and the expertise we have right here in this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you. Senator Blackburn.
It's good to see you. Thank
Good to see
you for
you.
being here. A couple of quick points. Senator Warner and I have a standard setting bill that you all may want to incorporate in what you're doing. We're quite concerned about the U.S. retaining the ability to set standards. And so we filed this a couple of years ago. So I commend that to you. Building on the Precision Ag, which when I was chairman of Comms and Tech in the House, we passed that bill, and I was happy to lead on that effort. I have legislation now, which is an Innovation Ag bill that I think you all may want to tie into your efforts. And I encourage that. Also, we have a quantum sandbox bill. Senator Lujan and I have done that for quantum technologies. Oak Ridge National Lab leads in that effort. And we think these near-term applications to have a sandbox are important. So I'm pleased to see Senator Cruz come forward with something on AI. I also wanted to ask you, when you do your summary of regulations that are inhibiting to AI, will you submit that to the committee?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, thank you. Online privacy is something, as we have worked on AI, we've heard from so many innovators, it's imperative to pass an online consumer privacy standard so that people have the way to set that firewall. Do you agree with that?
Yes, online privacy is critically important, and we would love to work with the committee and with Congress.
Excellent. We've tried for 13 years to get that passed,
Yes.
and we're not giving up. I agree with you on that. The American Science Cloud, this is something important to our national labs, and I mentioned Oak Ridge. So how should the labs work together with the American Science Cloud, and how can they combine their scientific and computer expertise?
As you know very well, there's a wide variety of supercomputing infrastructure that is across all of the national labs, and then there's other computing infrastructure that sits outside of the labs in the private sector, and being able for those institutions to all speak to each other and to be able to optimize the workloads across them.
So you're looking at interoperability. That
Yeah.
would be your primary objective.
I think
Data transfer, interoperability.
that would be
Okay.
one of the top things to think about.
Okay,
yeah.
excellent. I want to talk with you about fair use because in